starting spring practice, and then we'll jump into questions. If you got a question, raise your hand, and we'll get you a microphone.
Man, we're excited. We're right in the throes of it, and if everybody's been looking at the weather forecast the last few days, it's baseball season as we're walking in talking about let's play 2. So we're just trying to navigate around weather. Fortunate thing with the baseball schedule, for the first time ever, we were able to start like 12 days sooner than in the past, of the whole team getting to practice together in a 20-hour full segment instead of that 8-hour. So some of that's good, some of that's been a challenge. We got the inter-squad. We've had 3 squad games 12 days earlier, and it looked like it was 12 days earlier with the guys being separated from us for 30, 35, 40 days, whatever that window was. But I can kind of see it as a positive moving forward that we got to lay some tracks earlier and get to play the game of baseball a little sooner. So as we start up for this second round, I'm really looking forward to trying to clean up and brush up on some things. I think I got a group that believes in themselves. Coaches believe. Outside noise is kind of favorable on this ball club, but we're far away from living up to that with the first tracks that we laid. But that's what we're here for, and that's why we're trying to push through getting the second round of squad games going. Schedule's great. You know, the 4 or 5 years here that we've tried to intentionally build a top 5 schedule in America, that's gotten us like blasted one year. It's helped us be a top 16 seed 3 of the last 4 years. It helped us be a number 4 national seed last year. And this schedule will present it again. I was looking at the Division I top 25 preseason rankings, and there's other really good ones. And our players probably see where we were ranked. A coach looks at it and sees that there's 26 games against 10 other teams that are in their top 25 that has my undivided attention, but that was the goal. So that's about half your schedule. And then we'll play, as it sits right now, 33 top 50 RPI teams from last year. That's well over half our schedule. So you start talking about the Arlington trip again and those 3 opponents. You start talking about Georgia Tech, a top 5 preseason team, home and away, right down the road. You start talking about a series against Nebraska at home, and then we'll throw in 10 weeks of Southeastern Conference play to boot, with some other good challenges along the way. Our entire schedule is littered with quality, and I think, you know, our success or lack thereof, wherever our watermark is with this club, we just feel like our program is in position, you know, from the first 5, looking at the second 5, and now starting the third 5 of our time here, that we're trying to potentially, as the season shakes out, to play one of the hardest schedules that we can in the country. And our conference affords us an opportunity to do that. I understand that. Who's going to fill their shoes? Is that a George Jones song? I think about that with a whopping 11 players that entered professional baseball last year. So before everybody starts pounding the table, understand half this team's new, and you lost more in my 24 years of guys entering professional baseball in one season. Maybe our biggest fan since I've been here, somebody that's yelled as loud as he can. It's been a huge part of our deal. Mike Cooper, helmet guy, is a huge loss to us. And I think about, you know, all those boys, those players, who's going to fill those shoes. I think about Mike Cooper. I think about his wife Nancy. Well, I wanted to mention him today, but I also think about who's really going to fill those shoes. We've done so much to bring more atmosphere to Plainsman Park and to everything we do, and that's a loss. And somebody's got to step up to the plate, step in that gap for that. So that's a call to arms to who needs to hear that to try to fill those shoes. That's what Mike would want, I know. But our deal is just our plan every day, and execute and debrief and try to consistently repeat it. That is how we're going to determine our success, not by what you say or what somebody else is doing that's not in this frame with us, that's not seeing us on a day-to-day deal, and just try to get better every day. This group's been amazing to work with. I thought last year's group, And it felt like a failure personally because I wanted so much. I wanted another step or two or all the way for that group last year. They did us right. And I wanted them to have more in this group. Ever since we've gotten started in August, it's been a joy to be on the field with. So if they keep making good steps, I'll be wanting the world for them, and anything short of a couple more steps from what we were able to do last year will be tough, because these guys are doing a nice job for us.
Butch, you talked about in the fall, I guess, the maturity of this group and needing to see a little growth there. Just how has that been progressing, and I guess how have you kind of seen this group kind of take steps in maturation?
Yeah, we're trying. We just try to put strategies in there, and sometimes quality and something real is not something you can just instantly snap your fingers to. So just felt like, you go like Ike Irish, he was a junior, but he was even more mature than that. I think like a Ryan Bliss in the past. I think about Cooper McMurray was one of those players that a coach loves in this new day and time, of just the calming influence, even bigger than the numbers, what you see from that maturity standpoint. Now it feels like, all right, who's your best players? And then you start going Rembert and Fralick, and you got a Steele, you still have some of those pieces, but you just see a nucleus of maybe arguably what may be deemed as your best players are sophomores instead of juniors or seniors per se. So we were just trying to fill in those gaps. I don't think I know what deal that is, but that's what coaches do. We're trying to forecast out front what could the challenges be. Our players did, I think George put it out a couple of days ago, our legacy leaders, our captains were voted on by our players, and they came up with Lucas Steele, who's done a marvelous job. It's one of the best step-ins. Eric Guevara is a quieter player, but those players absolutely adore him, respect him, coming back from that ACL and just working every day. A guy by example. I'd put Chris Rembert in there as well. Just his play, how hard when he hits the ball, how he runs, how he prepares every day. We were playing a squad game the other day, and a player goes straight into second base like they're supposed to, and he's tagging him out, but there's that little finger exposed, and take a spike or two right in there, and he just hangs in there and battles and wants to keep preparing, and he wants hard instead of easy. He's one of our captains. And then mild surprise for me, and I didn't know at the moment, but Alex Petrovic has been around. It's like we built him up. He's had a couple of injuries, had a couple of nice starts, but has missed a lot of time, honestly. But those players say he is the pitcher that absolutely has done the most to teach younger guys and do all that. So maturity's been a word where I haven't tried to force it, but something we paid attention to and really tried to talk to these four captains and really tried to see whatever we could do. I was having them run laps the other day, but I had them run with partners just to try to get, young and old, any which way we can to be intentional, but kind of let that organically grow. Because, we had 3 freshman All-Americans last year. They were pretty good. But I wonder with what we left, where's our maturity at? That's something I've been thinking about for a while.
But in this day and age where teams are older and everybody's getting older, you had 3 freshmen that stepped up last year. And look this year, and you go and Ethan Bingham and Mason McCrane. You got a couple of those young guys. Just talk about the opportunities that you see for maybe a couple of those young guys, even though this is an older team too.
Well, I think everybody's trying to do strategies now, right, for their program, and even if it's the same sport, even if it's a different sport, you're trying to grab stuff. Ours is still young and old. We feel like if we can get some of the best high school players in America that is ready to play, and we have that feeling, we're going all in. Hopefully last year's just not one of those that can't keep recreating that. And I'm kind of bullish on it because I believe in Ethan Bingham, and he's going to get the ball first to start the squad game today. I want him to earn it, and he's earned it. He threw 73% strikes the first round. That's the one flag we're waving for our pitchers. And I don't care, maturity, freshman, senior, we've already got 15 starts in you. I think it's okay for these guys to still earn it. I think they're good with that. Maybe not crazy happy, but they understand the journey of where we have to prepare and not be given stuff. now more than ever, maybe. And then Mason McCrane is, I don't know, left-handed, 6'7", has all the tools, but talent alone. You know, if you're naked with talent, you just, it's hard. You know, you gotta have some charisma, you have to have confidence. All those things that you see with freshmen, it's less about the talent for them to get on the field and be freshman All-Americans. It's skill. A lot of guys have skill that aren't even on the field or playing well. It's the maturity, it's the handling adversity, it's failure. I still think our failure is more packed in than any other sport. You take a hitter and he fails 7 out of 10 times, and he's a good hitter, and potentially can be something for you. And sometimes when you're young, your ability to do it now or have to wait a little longer is how you can fail 7 out of 10 times and feel great or feel good and confident about yourself. So those are two guys. I think there's more, but LJ Cormier is one of those guys that we think has that confidence now. Is it as electric as it's going to be as he continues to grow? No, but he's showing some of those elements and a few more without forcing it. A lot of guys to talk about maybe ahead, but we're going to continue to do that because we built this team to do that for another year. So if those guys aren't ready to go, somebody's going to have to fill in those shoes because we have built this to get us a couple of position players, a couple of pitchers, young, to keep coming to this program to mix in with older players, as we're talking about a lot in college athletics today.
No.
But you mentioned the outside noise, and there's no question that they all see where you're being, talked about and picked. A lot of times in the past, it's been try to prove and earn the respect. You've got that respect now, but does that change the way you approach things here, or how do you handle them, the players and everybody knowing what the expectations are?
Yeah, I just think I say it's work from the past. I keep telling our guys I sure don't apologize. I'm greatly thankful, a lot of gratitude for, seeing how Plainsman Park's coming along, seeing how people continue to, we've already sold more season tickets than ever before. We've done that 4 years in a row. There's no apologizing for us growing and people thinking more of our program. The only time that becomes a problem is if our ego gets out of whack. I know Scott Adams, he had just passed away, he did the Dilbert comic strips for forever, and he had a thing on ego. One of my friends sent me, it's like, you can't start feeling like you're something or greater than you are. That'd be kind of like thinking you're an original Picasso. You would handle yourself with kid gloves, you wouldn't want contact, you would shy away saving it for a game, or when you think too much of yourself, it's hard to get down and get dirty every day. And the difference in walking original Picasso, I think, was the deal 2 blocks to a gallery. You'd be scared of the rain, you'd be worried that somebody's going to try to take it from you because it's so priceless. And then if you go back and they say, okay, take this potato over there now, and you, okay, no problem, you drop it in your pocket, and you walk a little bit, if it fell on the ground, you pick it back up, no problem, give them the potato. Our ego needs to be a little bit more like a potato right now. We threw 55% strikes the other day in a squad game. So if you're this, the world's telling you this or the world's telling you that, if we go 3-5 to start, we'll be out of the top 25. I mean, it's no game to play with the external stuff. It's just, we have to get to the point where whatever our standard is, of trying to suffocate the strike zone to 62, 64%, we're 9% off. That's what I mean by plan, execute, debrief it every day, and then consistently repeat it. How good we are at that is our success. John Wooden called it straight lines. I brought my balloon today. And y'all have heard me do the John Wooden before. He's just talking about straight lines, and he wasn't watching the scoreboard, but if you watch and see how your guys were running straight lines, if they did good at that, they would get open more, and they'd get in better positions for rebound. When they rounded everything off and just wouldn't perform in their straight lines, they couldn't get open, they couldn't get in good positions. And that's all I want pitchers to do. As much analytics as we got floating around, I want 62, 64% strikes, period. That's the one flag we're waving. Our offense, all we're asking them to do is to get the leadoff man on. Because last year in the SEC, teams in our league scored 1.8 runs per inning when the leadoff man got on. That's a straight line for the offense. And with half our team new, which means, whoever plays short, he might have a new third baseman to his right, new second baseman to his left. We must communicate on defense, and I'm not talking about needing a pom-pom. I'm talking about I'm one step in the hole. I'm one step deeper. I'm here with 2 strikes. I'm up and over and in to defend the flare here because it's more likely for an off-speed pitch. So let the guy in front to your right know where you're at and where you vacated positioning because it's probably somebody new than last year. And I blew up this balloon the other day for our pitchers in front of y'all, the whole team. I blew it. When you throw 55% strikes, it looks like that. And what I want is you to get, I want your arm to get up. I want you to get firm. I want you to get on top, behind the ball, and I want you to create a straight line for 60 feet, 6 inches. Because I want late movement. I don't want movement out of the hand. I don't want it going everywhere. I want straight lines. Until we go from 55% to 64% as a pitching staff, or at least 10 or 12 of them, until we can get the leadoff man on and it means something. Right now, I think one of my meanest, best, most prepared guys is Chris Rumber, one of my hardest players. The most coveted position in this lineup for 2026 is our leadoff man. We think that gives us the best chance to create offense. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I don't have him trying to master 20 things. I want Chris Rumber leading that thing off right now. And he should be somewhere else in the lineup. But right now, I'm sold out to who do we trust the most to get lead off? Because now that pitcher's forced to go to a set position. That first baseman is giving up real estate. He's going to hold a bag. The middle infielders have to talk because now they're starting to think about double play. As they take 3, 2, 4 spots closer, they have lost the real estate proposition of the 3 acres already. That's how we want to start innings. And we saw in our league how it produced something. And then, how our infield shakes out and our outfield communicate like crazy. If we can master that, then I can add something else. Last year we wanted to run as hard as we could from home to first base as anybody in America. This year, those are the 3 flags that we're waving. If I can just keep beating that in their head and tell them nothing else matters, the quality of what we are is what we put on that field today. That's where we're ranked. And we're just ranking against ourselves. Are we a better club tomorrow than today? And can my voice, even though it's not working right now, can it compete against every bit of that don't matter? I think truth's in what we put out there today, and I think it's in the Bible. Everything else, that's why I got off social media 3 years ago and I don't do it anymore. I can't handle all of it. And I know I couldn't handle it when I was these guys' age. They're all young to me. And if I can just get them on the plan, execute, debrief, consistently repeat, that's my best shot to answer the question of everything else will take care of itself. It don't matter till you get to the end and see if you put yourself in position to have 4 teams standing in your way of postseason or going to Omaha. That's how we tried to build it. That's what we would love to get in position for again. But when you play a top 5 schedule, you can't count anything before it hatches. We're going to have our head down, and we must grow in these next couple weeks to be even competitive opening day. That's our charge. That's where our focus needs to be, and we'll see how mature we are to be able to deal with it.
2 more, Lindsay.
Yeah. Something that's been kind of a common theme is you've been pretty patient with your starting weekend rotation as they've had initial struggles. Given that top 5 schedule in the country, do you feel like you can give a guy multiple starts over multiple weeks if he's not hitting that standard, or do you have to play week by week almost?
I don't know if it's a positive or negative. I think that's one of the best questions because I would honestly have to say that's what I've been wrestling with the most. It feels like even, you would think what are they going to do with the rotation? I keep hearing that.
Right.
And I think that's a nail on the head. I'll give that. I don't think I know. So I don't know how anybody else would know.
Yeah.
And so I turned it into earn it. And I don't know if it's a positive or a negative because it might be a positive. We might have more options than what we've had. The problem may be if I can't get there and get these guys in the right spots to begin with. So I can see it going either way, but I'm playing the earn it game now because I care about every one of them. And I think there's a lot of amazing, bright futures. But I want their track record, their blah, 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 their everything else right now, who is throwing the baseball the best. And that's what I'm marching toward. I would have to say the same thing. I have the same problem positionally. You know, Frelick's really good. Steele has done an amazing job. Gregorio is also a left-handed hitting catcher. That's 3 of them. First base, Madrigal's coming back at some point. And to keep you from asking again, is it April? I don't know. I'll give you that. Run with that today. That's a good player. You know, Bristol, Bub, Ballou, you know, you feel like you got 3 real defenders that I know give some quality to us. But when you go a Mason McCrane and you go a Bingaman, who you're starting to get to 5, and I can go 3 more. Fabian made less than 5 errors. So did Brody Moore. Bliss. I mean, our last few guys that really held down the shortstop position. You start playing mid-50s, more than 60 ball games, handling that position like that. Everybody in the world's begging for that. Who's going to fill those shoes? You know, is Ryan Farber going to be able to do that? Is Guevara got to move over? Todd Clay was our players voted him as our MVP. Playing third base last year. He's playing with one hand more. It feels like he's growing there. Brandon McCrane, Mason's brother, the older brother, that redshirted last year, is tooled up. We were so fortunate that he's a freshman again, but he's not. We're jammed up. Not everybody's going to be able to play there either. How are we going to manage that? And I'm just saying, it might be a great problem, and it might be a negative thing. This might be because it is a little more jumbled up on both sides of the ball. This 3-game series, we've already tried to plan it out because we need to see guys in different spots because the competition's getting real. And I think we're capable of putting more than 8 position players out there. If we can put 12 guys out there that we believe in, that can give us the same skill thing we're looking for, who can give us the best synergy to figure out in the next 2 or 3 weeks now? What's the best synergy? What pitching stuff goes together? If I'm waving this flag, who can throw the strikes? What's the grouping of those guys? But then how do they play off of one another? We've got some lefties I'm excited about. You know, we feel like Graves here's some maturity with Graves now, 3rd year, think he's ready. Marciano looks the part to us and is throwing a good high percentage strikes. We can go left-handed to work the righties or lefties to stay lefty, you know. But really, when you got new guys and you're putting with old guys, how do you really know from playing the Savannah Bananas in 12 or 14 innings against Kennesaw, who in a real ball game really packages the best, going ahead and behind and around one another? This isn't just like keep putting a guy. This is about creating a synergy for a 9-inning ball game that helps you get to finish lines, helps you to tackle, where we're looking at 55 to 58% left-handed hitters in an SEC lineup, you know. And then on a Tuesday, you know, we're playing like the Georgia Techs of the world, and playing all the people in state that give us such a hard time that are more right-handed. We got a lot to figure out, and it's a little jumbled, and it's been a little thinner and less options. The more options is new for us. We must figure that out. So you're all over it. And I think most teams, it feels like, are ahead of us in our league of like, this guy's going to throw here, here, and here, and can throw that out there and tell you guys. I'm behind on it a little bit. And I'm trying to find a way to pick the guys that are the most ready now. And for me, that means I'm not missing a pitch of the squad game today. And I want the rain to hold off and find us a window, because we're behind where we've been in the past, but we do have more options. And I don't know if that's a positive or negative yet.
Coach, you just mentioned him, Todd Clay, the hometown kid. Can you just talk about what impact you hope for him and why he was voted MVP in your opinion?
Yeah. I think players just respect players. When I first got here, I was picking the captains. You know, I was an assistant for 23 years, and then I tried this head coaching thing, and I just learned I think it's more powerful when it comes from your peers. When if y'all get, I don't know how y'all do y'all stuff, when y'all get voted for something that comes from your peer group, I just think it's more powerful. I would just say, I mean, he has a great repeatable approach. We see a great approach to hit every day thus far. We've seen him grow defensively, and we've seen him commit to that. His body's changed, and I don't mean it had to. They don't have to look pretty in a uniform to be a great baseball player. A lot of us have proved that through the years. But it's just been an increased work. He's locked in, and I think they respected it. We've run 4 or 5 baseball camps. I heard through the grapevine his mama makes him work those camps because they're right here in town, and when we do something, that's how you connect to this community, that's how you make a difference, and you're going to invest. So I think he's been given some really good advice on how you walk in the door and you're new and how you're going to fit in. And it's getting in there and grinding and doing everything instead of running away and doing the bare minimum. I think it's harder when you're close, when you're 2 miles away to play. I think it's easier to travel further and not have those same pressures. I think it's hard to live up. I think like where you ranked or whatever people thought of you, or you got more people saying, hey, your coach is no good, or you got more people around town asking you questions, man, you're not hitting good now, or all that. It's harder close when you're in a frame like that. And all he's done is put his head in. Every time we do something to build and try to promote our program, he's been engaging in that. So he's done everything to this point to be enduring, but you can't fool your teammates. They're in that locker room. We're in there, we're with them every day, but that locker room is theirs. And no locker room is gonna let you walk in off the street and then in 3 months' time say they were our MVP. When you have players that have done some things in that locker room. He did something, and I don't have the full story, but he has instant street cred, which is hard to walk off the street and do that in a locker room in a short period of time. So I tip my hat to him. Hadn't played a game yet, but that's pretty good walking in the locker room, getting instant respect. So what it does tell me is they think he's a player that they believe in that can help us, be successful.
Last one, Brian.
Yeah, Butch, not as good questions as my fellow riders, but who's been swinging the hottest bat so far for you guys? Or some guys that have really been doing well offensively so far?
Yeah, it was 3 different days. It was kind of ping pong the first game, just kind of boring, I watched a couple of points and just back and forth, generic type stuff. I would say the collapse game 1 or our challenge was our defense. And it was like, they've been hitting in the cage, they've been throwing, they do all the guys do a nice job. I think around the country there's more training and stuff going on ever in our sport. But the communication, getting to the right spots, playing on a 3-acre field again, the pop-ups, some little things like that. Team defense was the struggle. The second game was our unacceptable, blatant deal by our pitchers. And we just started harping immediately to finish the day, to start the next day, and they come out for 5 innings on game 3, and we took a few called strike 3s and some things we haven't done. Those pitchers turning it around and getting back to mid-60s, and guys really throwing a percentage of strikes. The pitchers got in between pitches. There was called strike 3 and didn't pull the trigger a few times, and just they let the express go right by thinking something else. When you start, it's such a difference when you have the count in leverage, when you get ahead, stay ahead, and when the count is 1-0 and 2-0 and 2-1 and 3-1 too often. I mean, it's always been that way. You're not going to beat those numbers. Nobody. When I see you, I think of the Braves. I mean, Maddox didn't beat those numbers. It's like 350 deficient in the camp, but the boy didn't live there. He didn't visit that town very often, but it wasn't even successful for him. Dude would not go there. I mean, he had, what, 3 or 4 years where he had more wins than walks in a season. He was bumping 200 innings a year. I told him, I was so mad at our pitchers, I told him about Fluky, you know, the Coastal Carolina starter coming here. If we can't create a standard in the room, let me tell you what a real standard is if we want to take another step or two. That's throwing 608 fastballs at 95 miles per hour last year in 2025. 608 fastballs, 95 miles per hour, 75.1% strikes. So don't think you're this with your ranking. This is what we're doing. And let me tell you what the best is doing. We gotta keep something for these guys to be chased and focused on. Instead of somebody telling them that for one of these years, you get some preseason stuff and somebody tells you you're a Picasso. We need to act like it's gonna rain on us today. We're gonna get our innings in. We're gonna fill up that strike zone today. We gotta take our ego out of this thing and understand that they're a pitcher in the same Division I baseball we played in that threw 608 fastballs last year at 95 miles per hour for 75.1% strikes. We are not there yet. And it's good question, Brian. Good question.
All right, thank you, everybody.